Hi, my name is James Hughes, and I would like to welcome you to the Fix Your Found Revit Content with Parameter Jammer presentation. ATG is a platinum level Autodesk software provider. A platinum partner is someone who has the best customer service, best technical support, and best customer retention across authorized resellers. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed architect here in the state of Arkansas. I have 13 years of architectural experience. And for the past 6 years, I've been an AEC industry specialist with ATG. So my full-time job is helping architects, interior designers, landscape architects, engineers, and contractors with Autodesk software, as well as a number of other technical services. And we're going to talk about how to solve one of the problems of procuring content. You can see this image here actually shows a non-uniform sailboat kind of sailing away there. Our agenda today is to cover these learning objectives. We're going to fully understand the challenges with procuring outside, well, maybe not fully understand, there's quite a few challenges with procuring outside content. And by outside content, we mean from manufacturers, BIM Object, Revit City, and other locations. We're going to explore Parameter Jammer and its functionality. And we're going to become more familiar with the Parameter Jammer interface and features. At the end, I'll show you how to grab a free trial of BIM Project Suite, which is the suite of tools that houses or has Parameter Jammer in it. Today, we'll talk about the value of using Parameter Jammer to be able to add shared parameters to content that you've procured. So what are some of the challenges? When your users download content from external sources, oftentimes they'll download it from a manufacturer's website. And the primary issue with external content doesn't always become apparent until the Revit user attempts to display component data in a Revit schedule, or they try to tag it. And content built on differing standards often cannot be scheduled in any consistent way, which causes significant frustration and time lost. Manual correction of this problem can be tedious, particularly if you've got several families to be able to do this too. You can't really do it in batch unless you use some third-party software. And so to manually add the shared parameters to each family requires for you to open up the family in the family editor. And having done quite a few advanced Revit trainings, I will tell you from experience, about 70% of at least architectural users of Revit are fully uncomfortable doing that. And so they are going to call you over if you're the BIM manager or you're someone that's comfortable creating that family content, and then they're going to burn a good bit of your time too. And then the last challenge here is that some firms are not using shared parameters because they seem complicated. Congratulations to you and your firm. If you guys are, you are in the minority. Unfortunately, I would say only in sort of my surveying, only about 40% of design firms are utilizing shared parameters, which is just a tragedy because that opens up a whole new world for being able to tag items visually or graphically within your plans. Well, you guys know if you're using shared parameters, and to be able to use those same parameters inside of either family content you've created or altered, as well as have it recognize those same set of standard parameters from project to project. I probably should have dialed back his surprise a little bit. Sorry about that. So Parameter Jammer can resolve most of the data issues with externally sourced content fairly easily. In this webinar, we'll demonstrate use of the tool and how the end users can have much smoother workflows in relation to content regarding scheduling, tagging, and filtering by parameters. Parameter Jammer is a tool that belongs in the hands of all Revit users. Simply jam parameters to the content without needing a BIM manager to troubleshoot and modify the content. You can use Parameter Jammer to fix family files live in the project. And so that's actually what it was created to do, as opposed to add the files in the family editor. This is software that is designed for any level of user to be able to jam those parameters to to it without ever setting foot in the family editor. You can use Parameter Jammer to fix family content based on your company's standard shared parameter file. You can use it to fix family content based on an existing project schedule. And Parameter Jammer alleviates the cost of time to fix families from your project timeline. So as we mentioned, there's no family editing knowledge necessary. It's got a simple 3-step wizard, which I'll show to you in just a little bit. And it handles, I would say, about 90% of parameter scenarios. It facilitates independence of your users from calling in BIM managers. And users they have to be able to read the parameter file, but importantly, they do not need, and they probably should not be allowed to write to the shared parameter file. But all Parameter Jammer needs is to be able to see where the file is, and hopefully it's read-only. So no data is destroyed when parameters are swapped out with Parameter Jammer. So it can take an existing family parameter by the same name and actually transfer over the values from that parameter into the new shared parameter that's going to be substituted instead. It can jam parameters to any family that's in the list that it will show. And it retains usage of that parameter. It retains any formula that might exist on the family file. And it's only for use in the family that's loaded into the project. I sort of mentioned this a little bit before. It's not really for pointing to a folder of RFA files and doing that content. There's another tool in the BIM Manager suite for that. All right, now I will demonstrate the problem and how to use Parameter Jammer to solve the problem. Well, if you're wondering what that is a military grade jammer loaded on an SUV that actually is in use in the Middle East, or has been. So I don't know. I thought it was cool looking, and it's about jamming. Let me swap over to Revit here. Okay, so I'm in my furniture plan here. We've got a number of furniture pieces that have been added here on the first floor, and we've got a schedule that's been created. And just so I can show both of these at the same time, I'm going to use window tiles. So just WT tiles these two views together. Oh, hang on, I was in a family editor just a minute ago. Close that one. Now we'll window tile it. So I've got my furniture schedule that's been created over here on the right-hand side. Can't quite see all of it, at least not yet. And then here is our furniture plan on this side. And one of the things I like about doing a view like this, whenever you're kind of coordinating data between a schedule and a plan, is that, as you select objects, they highlight. If you still can't find it, you've got the ability to select it in the schedule and highlight it in the model. But this isn't really about this. I'm just kind of concentrating on this breakfast area here because my furniture schedule happens to be sorted by room. And I would like to kind of demonstrate adding a new piece of outside content so that in the breakfast area, so it shows up in this top part of the list. So most of these furniture schedule elements that you're seeing over here are pretty typical ones. If I look at how this is built up, most of these parameters are normal or system parameters for furniture, but I've added in, and I made them silly on purpose just so you'd be able to recognize them. But here on the end of my schedule, I've added in some shared parameters, and I'm pretending that they're my company standard. And these have simply been added by choosing new parameter, choosing a shared parameter, and then selecting it out of your company's shared parameter lineup for the pertinent amount or the pertinent group of those parameters. So the problem with this is there is no problem with any of the furniture that came from our standards. So these all came from our network drive, or maybe we're using a content management solution. And so these have all had the shared parameters baked into them. And what I mean by that is, in particular, are these last three columns that you see here. Actually, bling bling as well. It feels silly saying these now that I've made them. And so several of these are behaving just fine with the furniture that we've got loaded because these shared parameters have been pushed into each of these family files. Now, the problem is when someone goes outside of the firm to go grab some content, I'll save this step where I open up Revit City or BIM object because I did that just a little bit earlier and downloaded a piece that I have not loaded into the project yet. So I'm just going to open up this Herman Miller Aeron chair. I'm so unimaginative. Of course, I have to upgrade it. It's from Revit City. And of course, we're going to load it right into the project, right? I mean, that's standard operating procedure. But we could, if it was one at a time, we could manually add the shared parameters to this. But I'm just going to load this Aeron chair directly into the project, as I'm sure you've got users doing things like this. We're going to make sure we put it in the breakfast area, and hopefully it's going to cause it to be accounted for over here in our furniture schedule. So place it right here, and it looks like it's right there. Excellent. I love it when a demo is behaving itself, right? And some of these parameters have scheduled out because these are just system parameters. So it already has a URL baked into pretty much any, well, not pretty much, every furniture item is going to have a URL as well as some of these others. It also has a mark value that I could manually fill out. But the problem is when we get to the shared parameters at the end of this list, the ones that we care about for our scheduling purposes, notice it, I don't get a checkbox for whether it has bling bling. I don't have the custom, well, I do have a customer ID blank, but if I click in here, I can't change it. Whereas any of these other values, we could assign a customer number to it. And then it's going to assign to, because that's a type parameter, evidently, to all of those. But this new piece of content, the Aeron chair, does not actually schedule. And so I don't get a checkbox for this. I can't put in what percentage I think it's snazzy or how many dollars I think the customer will actually pay for it. All of these are just silly parameters, but I'm sure you've got useful parameters that you care about for shared. And if you aren't using shared parameters for furniture, you need to move out of that 60th percentile that isn't yet, because they are worth using. So we're going to use Parameter Jammer to push the parameters to this new chair. And this, granted, this isn't a normal use case for it because I don't think you would normally do it one piece at a time. I mean, you can, but a normal workflow, I think, for an architect would be towards the end of design development. You've got a lot of furniture that's not behaving itself. And so you could actually point Parameter Jammer to all of it at once, and it would find it. So after you have downloaded the CTC tool, it installs, which has Parameter Jammer, and it installs under a CTC software tab in Revit. And it's the BIM project suite, this green one. I've got some other tools loaded here as well, but I'll pull this down for clarity. And Parameter Jammer is right here in dark green. All of these light green tools are free to use tools, and all of the dark green tools are free to use for the length of the 14-day free trial. And for that reason, I'm going to make the case to you that we've got like 20 tools here, and each one of these is designed to save you time, and Parameter Jammer is one of those. So I'll push this back up here, and we'll launch Parameter Jammer. Opened on another window. Here we go. So there's basically three things that I need to point to for Parameter Jammer to be able to work. I have already identified where the shared parameter TXT file is, but if I have not, then I need to browse to it. I just made one for fun shared parameters, which has the bling bling and some of these others here. After Parameter Jammer sees that, it will remember that location for future work. And because I have the furniture schedule open, it is automatically checked. But if I wasn't in the schedule view here, it would still list all of the schedules that are in my open project. So that's helpful. And also what it has done is taken a look at all of the families that are set to be scheduled by it, so that I'm not looking at every family that's in this nearly completed model here. And so it's limited it just to the furniture that's set to be scheduled here. And I can see that Aeron chair right here. So normally there might be, 10 or 15 of these that we might want to check to be able to jam parameters to all of them, but we'll just do this real time for the one. So I've made one selection, two selections, and then that's the third. You could also hit all, or, there's some automation here as well. You can do pick families. If you don't know the name of it, you could actually choose pick families and go click on it and then come right back here and it would actually, check it and know which one it is. If you can't follow the 3 steps I'm showing you here, then you can also watch a video on it. Here's our interface with Parameter Jammer. It's pretty straightforward. If there's something that breaks in Parameter Jammer and you're on a deadline, then you've got the ability to, I would then reach out for support. You can see support here as well. If there's something quirky about Parameter Jammer, like for instance, you've got to have at least one family loaded that has had the shared parameters already baked into it for Parameter Jammer to work. If you wish that there was a way for it to do it besides that would be kind of like an example of a feature request. And then they would tell you, no, that's impossible. We don't have access to it, but it's, it's worth requesting. You don't know how easy or difficult something is. And then if there's something buggy, but it's not really setting you back, like you just want them to know about it, then you might use this bug report rather than a support case for it. So I've made my 3 selections. We'll hit the next button. We give Parameter Jammer just a minute to take a look at the shared parameters that are in the schedule that the family doesn't have. And it populated that here in this list. And I've got the capability, actually I have to make sure that there is a selection here. If I choose, do not include, then it's going to just not actually do anything. It'll leave it blank like it already is. But if I want each of these to be added as a type-based, or I could change it to an instance-based parameter, I'm going to leave it type-based because I think all of these don't really need to be changed for each individual one. So we'll leave it all as type-based. You could also have it set the remaining to make them type-based here. But this is really just a check of what it's going to do. And you've also got the ability to remap it to other parameters that are of the same type. So bling bling is a yes, no, or a checkbox. And so here are some other checkbox or yes, no parameters that I might want to actually substitute it for. But here I just want to add these. So we'll choose next. Give Parameter Jammer about 4 seconds there, and it shows me a printout proving that it was able to push each of those shared parameters. If I'm a little bit OCD, then I might actually copy and paste them into a Word file or an Excel document. I might save them out just as a proof that I did this work. So if you're a BIM manager that maybe has your thumb on people and you want them to prove it, you could have them save it out that they have pushed these parameters and done that work. So we'll just hit OK. We'll choose finish. And then when I click into the schedule, it updated, added these check boxes, and it hasn't filled out any values for this. It simply created the parameter value for me. I get to decide what percentage snazzy that Aeron chair. Naturally, it's 100% snazzy. So we'll update that. It's type parameter, so it gives me that warning. It's cost. I have no idea how much these cost. I'm going to say it's a $300 chair, but the customer is willing to pay $500 for this chair. It's just how silly my parameters are. But I just wanted to show you that I do have the ability to edit and set these parameters. We don't know if the customer likes it yet or not. All right, and then we can save that out. Now that has only edited this chair, this type of chair that has been placed in this project. So the RFA file that I downloaded does not have these saved to it, but I bet you could actually just go to file, save as library family. I haven't done this. And then choose, where are you, Herman Miller? Oh, I missed it. No, I got it somehow. We'll choose to put that right back here. And then I think you could save it out with those shared parameter values saved into it there. But there is another tool in the BIM Manager Suite that can actually do much more of that for the family processor. So if you have a bulk set of families that you want to, among other things, swap out shared parameters for some of the family parameters or anything like that, or other shared parameters, then Family Processor is able to do swaps, additions, deletions of those kind of parameters, as well as lots of other things. But here, for our purposes, we have fixed this Herman Miller chair. It is able to be scheduled. And if I open up the family editor, nobody freak out. I realize that only 30% of Revit users are cool coming into this, but we can double check and make sure that these parameters have in fact been added to this family here. And I guess also from this interface, I could do file save as and push it back out, but it's a little bit added work and it's not really a great way to batch do this, but it is certainly a possibility. All right, so I'm going to toggle back over. Wow, that's so fast. I actually took my time showing you guys, what I was up to at each of those steps, but we're not going to keep you for the whole lunchtime here, obviously. So just wrapping up, you are now aware of the challenges with procuring outside content. It does not behave in your schedules or tagging, or if you're using shared parameters to do filtering. It kind of breaks all three of those workflows when people go and find other content, not just architecturally. MEP benefits quite a bit from this kind of tool as well. I'm a dirty architect, so that's the example that I've shown you here, though. You've also seen the functionality of Parameter Jammer, just the ease of use. Again, I don't have the ability to overwrite the shared parameter file. I've just read from it and pushed those into families that are in my project. And now you're more familiar with the Parameter Jammer interface, what it can do and what some of its limitations are. And you can also grab the free trial that I mentioned of the BIM project suite. You can see the address here and also there. And as I mentioned before, I think it belongs in the hands of all of your team members. The BIM Manager Suite, the blue suite of tools, that suite is really for your BIM managers and the people that could, be trusted to not do widespread damage to a project. It has those kind of tools that are super powerful, but also maybe a little bit dangerous inside of BIM. So, but the BIM project suite, definitely the green suite, belongs in the hands of all your users. All right, so this concludes the webinar for Fix Your Found Revit Content with Parameter Jammer. At this time, I'm going to take a look into the chat. I see that there have been a couple of questions that come in. I'm going to take my best shot at answering those or see if I need to get some information back to people here. Let's see. First question, if you save out that family, does it come with the shared parameters pushed by? Yeah, I showed that one. So you can save that out in two ways. You can do it from within the project or from within the family editor, but that is, added steps to doing it. And there are better tools for doing that in batch to be able to save your RFA files out for other people's use. Mark asks, is this available in Revit 2022? So Revit 2022 was released not too long ago by Autodesk. I'm going to say it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I believe that as of a week ago, the CTC tools were all updated for Revit 2022. So Mark, my answer is yes, because I saw, I haven't downloaded my updated version, but my understanding, Mark, is that the tools have been already updated for Revit 2022. Justin says that he's using MEPPP, which is another tool from CTC. Can the same concept be accomplished by using Dynamo with Revit? I haven't looked into seeing what kind of Dynamo scripts exist that could do that. But oftentimes there are Dynamo ways to be able to that users can come up with for things. And so I don't want to close the door on that just by saying I'm unaware of which script you might be able to get, Justin. But I'm sure that there might be some way to be able to do that through Dynamo as well, because you should have access to the same sorts of things that you need to. I would have no idea how to do that myself. In fact, as I mentioned with Parameter Jammer, this is a tool for really anybody. So the odds of me learning how to do it with Dynamo and then being able to explain to other users how to implement that script is a pretty tall order. But checking 3 things in Parameter Jammer is pretty easy lift. That's more likely to keep me at my desk and not having to answer questions. Last question I'm seeing right now is from Danya. Let's see, can you mention that they should check to see if they're allowed to edit the company shared parameter file? Right, so Danya, I actually don't think that you should make your company shared parameter file editable by almost any of your users. I think that should exist in a network folder that everyone can see, or they've got read access to, but they've specifically not been granted write access. And so Parameter Jammer is able to function with that very common setup where it can see a read-only version of the shared parameter file, and it can read the shared parameters from it and then push it into their project content. Therefore, that's keeping your shared parameter file safe from dum-dums in your firm override. I don't know a gentle way to say that, but from a Yahoo overriding it with something that they, like me, you saw some of the fun shared parameters I created. You don't want me adding those into the company shared parameter list. So keep that one read only, and shared parameter or Parameter Jammer will work just fine for you. All right, this is a backpack mounted jammer. I think that's really cool. I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with Parameter Jammer, but when you look for images, you find related things. So I hope that this is Jam. I hope this demonstration has motivated you to download a free trial of the BIM project suite. Like I said, there's 20 tools in there, including Parameter Jammer, that are in that suite, and every one of them is designed to save all of your users time, money, and frustration as you're using Revit to meet your project deadlines. I'm James Hughes. Remember, if you're not using shared parameters because they seem tricky, your firm needs to begin implementing them alongside with Parameter Jammer. Until next time, goodbye.